Oh, there we go. All right. Good morning. This is a virtual PBX dash admin training. Just making sure we are properly broadcasting. It looks like we are. Just making sure. And all right, I think. Sorry about the delay. All right. So, yeah, so this, sorry. Good morning. This is virtual PBX dash admin training. Sorry about the weird start there. Just wasn't confirmed that I was actually streaming out to YouTube. So this is the Dash login page. This training is geared for system admins. So if you're just a standard user, a lot of this you're not going to have access to. But here at Dash, so dash.virtualpbx.com, this is your login page. It asks for your username, which is your email address, your password, which you hopefully got via email, and your account name, which is typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you didn't get an email with a password, just click on your forgot info link right here, and then enter in your email address, and then either your account name or one of your company phone numbers, and then click on reset password. This will send you an email with a link to then create your own password. Once you create that password, the system's going to log you back out, basically to make you log back in with that new password. And then after that, I recommend just clicking on the Remember Me, so that way you don't have to keep trying to remember it down the road. All right. So when you first log in, you're actually not taken to this page. I'm on a test account that I've been in several times, but if I click up here on my name, then this is where you start the first time you log into Dash, right? So it takes you to your user page. You can change your email address, your password, change your time zone. As an admin, I also have access to the account level. And again, the most common thing changed here is time zone, right? Make sure your company's in the right time zone. Now, on a live account, over here on the left, underneath where it says user, you would have additional billing options like the billing contact information. You can change your credit card, etc. Also, that first login, the Dash wizard comes up to let you know what these things are and what you can change. When you're done, you go ahead and click close here at the top right, and you're back on our dashboard page. Up here at the top, again, you click on your name to get back to that account page. The little question mark icon has some links. This will open up the chat window, so you can talk to our support team. They can walk you through whatever you're working on. They'll learn more, that takes you to our support pages, so you can see specific guides about different features. The online store, that just takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, so you can buy a VoIP phone or a router, etc. There's also an option here where the web phone link would show up. This shows up when you have an active web phone on your user. The web phone lets you use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls from a computer. And then over here, we got the menu icon or the hamburger icon. This takes you to additional features of Dash, and we'll be getting to those at the end of the training. Over here on the left, these are all the core features of Dash. And then we've got up here some additional settings that we'll get into shortly. In the middle here, we got total users. I have 27. These are people on my account. These are making and receiving calls. If you're on a user-based plan, that means each user you add increases your bill. So something to be aware of. Then we got total devices. I have 51, and a breakdown. So cell phone, right? Pretty self-explanatory. Most people have a cell phone. Web phone, which I just talked about. A soft phone, so software application that makes use of your internet connection to make and receive a call. Right. So the web phone is a type of soft phone, and then the cell phone is a more general term. This will cover our VirtualPBX soft phone apps, for instance. It can cover a soft phone app from, say, Counterpath. SIP phone. This is a physical VoIP phone, right? So it sits on your desk, most likely. It's a piece of hardware, right? So you can pick up the handset, dial out. Now, there are other kinds of VoIP phones on the market. So if you're out shopping or requesting gifts, you want to make sure that you're requesting a SIP phone, right? That's the particular subtype of VoIP phone. And basically, it needs to be SIP compliant or SIP compatible. And then lastly, I also have a landline listed. Now, I have 12 unregistered devices. This is likely my VoIP devices, so the SIP phone, soft phone, or web phone. Basically, the system Dash can detect if a VoIP device is connected, right? So that way we can send and receive calls to it. So when I see that unregistered, that means I know, oh, I have 12 devices I cannot send calls to or get calls from. That can be anything from someone simply didn't turn something on, right? Or that, the dog ripped out a cable as it was running by, to someone having a network issue of some sort, or even having no internet connection, period. All right, total phone numbers, 43. Depending on your plan includes anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your plan price. If you go over that allotment, it is anywhere from $1.99 to $4.99 per month per phone number. So $1.99 or to $4.99. And then down here I have a breakdown. So I have spare numbers and assigned numbers. An assigned number is going someplace on the system, right? It rings to somebody, right? It could be one of my main numbers, it could be my fax box, it could be my conference number, right? It could be going to my salesperson mob, it could be going to my billing ring group, it could be going to my tech support ACDQ, right? In some fashion, it gets to someone or to a voicemail box. Spare number means I'm not using it. Still on my account, so if I'm over my allotment, I would be charged for this spare number. But someone dials that number, they're not getting anywhere. This could be a number that I was using for a holiday promotion. And once the holidays are over, I just put it in spare number. So that way I'm not getting calls about a promotion that's not running anymore, or at least less calls. Or it could be I got a sequence of 10 phone numbers, right? So 10 sequential numbers. I just haven't gotten to the last few. All right, then we've got the breakdown here, USDID and US toll-free, right? So toll-free, US toll-free, right? It's actually North America or US and Canada toll-free, right? So 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833 currently, right? USDID, that just means a US local phone number, right? So a phone number, say, in Hermosa Beach, California, versus a number in Raleigh, North Carolina. Any place in between. If you are interested in international numbers, you want to contact our porting team, so PORTING at virtualpbx.com. They will need to know the city and country that you're interested in having a phone number in. They'll let you know if there are additional requirements, as well as any kind of pricing concerns. Some countries require a proof of presence within that city. Like Germany, for example, we need at least like a utility bill and then you can get the phone number. Other countries don't care, and they'll just release a number to us without any kind of documentation. Conference bridges, I have 6. This just means I have enabled the conference feature on 6 of my staff members as a user feature. I can do that once I have a conference number assigned. Over here on the right, we've got our main numbers. So these are my general numbers that customers will call in on. These numbers behave in the same fashion, right? So they're all going to ring to the same location initially. So for instance, if I have them all go to my virtual receptionist, then they would all play the same main greeting. Conference number, again, this is a number everyone accesses to get to the conference room. That, so your staff calls this number, and anyone else joining the conference would call this number. Then we got the fax box number. So this enables faxing on the system. And this would, you can only have, I guess I should go back a little bit. Conference room numbers, you can have more than one conference number. There's only just one here now. For the fax box, you can currently only have the one fax box number. Once you enable faxing, this number is the number that you receive faxes on, and then it will enable being able to fax out. Company directory, this downloads a text file, has everyone's, all your users and their extension numbers. Right, so you can print that out if people like to have the physical printout of everyone's extension numbers. The soft phone directory link is a download. This is for use with R, or the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. So you download this file and then you upload it to your desktop soft phone, and you can then see all your coworkers' soft phone status, right? So I could see if my coworkers are on a call, or if they're available, at least on their soft phone to make a call. Then I can click on their name and call them. Store discount code, you can use this in that store link here. Get a discount on, say, the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. There's a license fee associated with it. You can use it on getting a VoIP phone, getting a router, etc. And then over here, we have the account realm. This is used in a couple things. One is used to program a third-party application or device, right? So if you're using a soft phone application from CounterPath, you would need the account realm along with 2 other pieces of information to actually get that soft phone to work with us. The other place it's used is for outbound faxing. So on Dash, when you've assigned a fax box number, you've enabled faxing, your staff members can send a fax out via email. They create a new email. In the to field, they put the plus sign, the number 1, and the area code and phone number that they're faxing to, little @ symbol, and then the account realm. And then they simply attach a PDF or a TIFF file and send that off. That email, or the system only faxes out the attachment. It doesn't look at the body of the email or the subject line. It just looks at the attachment. You can only fax out the one attachment at a time. All right, up here we got the caller ID. Now, this you can actually select any of your numbers. Unfortunately, my software here doesn't work with all of the pull downs. And then down here, you've got your company caller ID name. This can be up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. After you click on the Save Changes there at the bottom, this gets transmitted to the other carriers who support CNAME. Right, so basically, when you pick up your VoIP phone and make an outbound call, we'll transmit this information as part of your caller ID when you're making that outbound call, and then hopefully it shows up on the destination device on their display, so they know, oh, it's your company that's calling. Now, some caveats about CNAME. 1, not every carrier supports CNAME. That means it's possible that when you make an outbound call, your call can route through one of those carriers, and that means your CNAME information does not go through. Now that's typically for smaller or regional carriers, right? The big boys, all like AT&Ts of the world, they all support CNAME. It's just the smaller carriers you would have to worry about. Even for the carriers who do support it, though, it's not a high priority, right? First priority, connect the call, then the caller ID, and then in distant third is the CNAME. So if they're having heavier than expected call volume, that your CNAME information may not go through. And obviously, if they're having a server or maintenance issue or an outage, again, they're more concerned about getting calls connected. All right, and then down here, we've got the company emergency or E911 information. This is going to be the address associated with this main phone number. And again, if someone from your company picks up a VoIP phone, dials 911, this is the default information that gets sent to emergency services. So you would want to make sure, A, that this information is correct, but also that your people are using the right phone number for their E911. And you can set that up by phone numbers and select it on the VoIP devices. Any changes, you just click on Save Changes here at the bottom. All right, next up, we've got hold music. Now, hold music on Dash is defined as after a call has connected to one of your users and they've pressed hold on their VoIP phone. When they do that, you can then determine what is played. You can upload your own file, and you would find the file on your computer, and then you would click on this little up arrow icon. Dash will play back .wav, .wav, or .mp3 files. You want to make sure they're recorded in mono, not in stereo, and that they're under 1 megabyte in size. And then when you do that, you click on Save Changes. And this will be the default hold music for all your users. Now over here, we've got hours. This is actually a subset of the main number, so we'll just go to main number. All right, at the top here, we've got our main company numbers. I currently have 2 associated here. Now, if I want to add more numbers, I can do so. Now, I have this link here for add for spare numbers, so I have an extra 888 number here I could put in as a main number. Or I could also buy a new number, right? So I can buy another toll-free number, for example. I just pick the toll-free prefix, I click search, and I can add a number, right? It's added to my cart. I see the number. I can remove it from the cart by clicking on the little trash can icon, or I can click on buy numbers. Likewise, I can choose local, and you search an area code. So let us go with, we'll see if there's anything in 703. Not likely. So there are some area codes where we don't have numbers. Like 703, for example, that's one of the original 47 area codes that was developed in the late 40s. Your average, on average, is something, each area could have something like 7.7 million phone numbers. And with the explosion of mobile devices, a lot of those area codes are getting exhausted. So then you would have to look for an overlay. I don't know of an overlay yet for Virginia, at least not off the top of my head. So let's check. We'll check 775. That's the northern part of Nevada. And I say, oh, I like this number. And then I can click on buy numbers. Now the system's verifying that, yes, the number was still available. And then activates it and adds it to my main numbers. Now, any place you can add a number, so like to a user, to a group, you can do the same process, right? You can either add from your spare numbers or just buy a new number, and it slots it in right in that spot. You got a little gear icon over here to the right, so you can set up the caller ID associated with this phone number, as well as if it can accept inbound CNAME information. You can set up the E911 for this number, right? So specific to that particular phone number. Prepend is a VoIP feature. Basically, you can add additional text in front of the caller ID, and this will show up on your staff members' VoIP phones. So it gives them an idea what the call might be about ahead of time. All right, office hours strategy. If you're a new sign up, you're defaulted to 24-hour open office. Most customers choose to go custom office hours. For each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark in front of that day. And then to the right, you establish your open hours in 24-hour/military time. You also have this option right down here at the bottom, say if you're closed for lunch, right? So everyone goes to lunch at the same time, and then you can include the lunch hours here. Office holidays, first you check to say that you're closed for holidays, or you leave it unchecked if you're not. And then to the right here, you click on add holiday, you've got single day, date range, and advanced. So single day is like right here I have for President's Day, right? So each one of these that you click on creates a new row, right? So you give it a name, and then you choose the month and the day for single day. For date range, like we have up here for Christmas coming up, I just put in December 23rd, and then it come back on the 26th. And then advanced is like this retreat option where I'm saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're on holiday, right? Company picnic day. Now, the main caveat for date range is there's no year indicator here. So you do not want a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You want to keep those as single day holidays. All right, incoming call handling. So I now have 3 main numbers. When calls come into those numbers, how do they act, right? This is where we deal with that. I have my open hours routing, I have my after hours routing, and my holiday routing, right? Those are my 3 set time zones or time setup, I guess. You can also have a lunch hours tab if you're closed for lunch. So during my open hours, I'm saying, hey, calls come into my virtual receptionist. This is a link, so I go ahead and click on that. And now here, I see on my left, I've got my menu options, right? These are what people press on their phone to navigate through the system. Notice down here, I'm allowing dialing extensions, so people can also enter an extension number if they know it. And then over here on the right, these are my greeting options. There we go. All right, so if you need to add additional menu options, right, you would click on Add Route, and then you got a pull down, which unfortunately this isn't showing. But basically, you got 0 through 9 plus the default route to choose from, and then where you want it to go. So for instance, Route 3, I'm just going to pick one here. Right, you've got the Smart Directory, right, so people can try to find the person they want to speak to. You can have it go to a specific person, right, one of your users. You can go to one of your call queues, if you're making use of ACD queues. A specific device, right? So I'm sending it to a specific phone. I can have it play a media file. Now, by default, after that media file plays, then the call ends. If I scroll further down, I've got options for groups, right? These are my ring groups, so departments. I've got advanced call flows. This lets me set up sub-menus, right? And I'll get into that in a little bit under auto attendance. And then I can also send it to a specific voicemail box. All right, greetings, text-to-speech, you just type it in, you would click update, you would then click save, and then save changes over here under the incoming call handling. Just a computerized robotic voice. I usually recommend that for people who've never dealt with a PBX phone system or like a startup. They're not quite sure what they're going to do because it's free. You can just keep editing it to make it right. You can upload your own file. Again, .wav, .mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Again, find the file, and then you would click update. You can choose from anything you've already recorded or uploaded. And this is a pull-down menu. You can record it over the phone. Now, by default, the system wants you to record with a VoIP device on the account. That's what it means by pick up a phone registered to this account. You can change that down here under where it says allow outside recording. If you turn that to on, that means you're allowing a cell phone or a landline to call in, and then they can enter this PIN number to record a new main greeting. Now, if you just got started, right, you just signed up, when you first call in, you'll get a message saying no menu has been set up for this, or no greeting has been set up for this menu. At that point, you would enter in this PIN number, and then it would walk you through recording it. Now, this PIN number is only good for your open hours, right? Because that's what I clicked on. If I want to change my after hours greeting, I have to get the after hours PIN. But again, that's only active during my after hours. So I have to make sure the system is in after hours mode to change the after hours greeting when you're recording over the phone. So something to keep in mind there. Now, if you're already an established an account, or you already have a greeting in place, right? So you put greeting A is currently playing when people call in, right? So when you call in, right, you hear greeting A play, you enter in this PIN number, the system will still walk you through recording a new greeting, and then it lets you save it. Once you do that, the file name greeting A stays the same, but you just overwrote the content. So that's something to keep in mind as you go forward. Next, we got the professional recording services. When you click order here at the bottom, this will take you to Snap Recordings. They have 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from, various versions of English, a couple versions of Spanish and French, so you can do a multilingual greeting. They have hold treatment packages, so like music and then a script. They do their own pricing. They handle their own billing. They deliver via email, typically, in which case then you would just upload your own file. They currently, at least I believe as of still this week, they have a holiday special going on. I believe it's 20% off. So you might want to jump on that if you need a new recording. And then we got these settings. So number of retries on this dial. This is basically how many times you're allowing the inbound caller to make a mistake. Right, so they listen to your greeting and they keep pressing 5. Right, you're letting them do that essentially. So they get the 1 try for sure, and then they get 2 missed dials. Right, so 3 attempts essentially at this point. And then after that last failure, they either get sent to the default route, right? In this case, VirtualPBX directory, or if you don't have a default route, then the call would end. Right, dialing timeout is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes that the person is done. Right, typically 2 or 3 is probably enough for most instances. Now, I don't typically recommend having a default route, and that's just because of robodialers. Right, so if I get rid of that, now I got rid of that route. So now when someone called in, right, assuming they're an actual person, right, they're going to press a menu option or an extension number to get to someone. Right, robodialers don't have fingers. They can't send extra tones. They just dial a phone number and then try to get a hold of someone. All right. So any changes you make on the main menu, the greetings, or the settings, you would click on Save, and then you click on Save Changes here, and now all your changes have taken effect. Right. Next option here is instead of having to go to my virtual receptionist directly, I'm having incoming calls. They're going to my coworker Bob here. And if Bob's not able to answer, then they go to the virtual receptionist, right? And it's still that same receptionist we just set up here. Right, so basically, this is a pull down, right? So you can send it to any specific user. You can send it to a queue, a group, a media file, or a specific device. But the main point of this is that you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members an opportunity to answer the call first. And if they're not able to, then the call goes to the virtual receptionist. Right, third option here, call is going into Bob in this case as well. But again, same options. I can send it to a group, I can send it to a queue, media file, a device, etc. If they're not able to pick up, it's going to a voicemail. And then this last option, call is going to an advanced call flow. This is one of my other auto attendants, which is our next major topic. So we'll get into that later. Right, after hours, you have these same options, but your virtual receptionist link, for instance, will be different. Right, you would have a different greeting, most likely. You'd have different menu options. Likewise for holidays, this is actually the typical holiday setup: is offer to someone and go to their voicemail box, or the very bottom here, you have the option here, just skip it to voicemail, right? Send them a call to voicemail, hey, we're closed for the holidays. We'll call back when we get back during normal hours. All right, main conference number. Again, you can add from spare or buy new numbers. The custom greeting is a text-to-speech greeting, right? So you can put additional text here. Even without a greeting, the system will ask the inbound caller to enter the conference room number and then the PIN number. And once you've added a single conference number, then you can enable conferencing on any of your users. Main fax box number, you would add from spare or buy a new number. And then you would click on Edit Fax Box. Now, on this test account, the fax box was broken, so I'm not going to show you the error message. On your accounts, when you click on the Edit Fax Box, you're going to get a pop-up window with two fields. The first field is for the inbound notification. Right? You put an email address in there. That email address gets the email when a fax comes in. That email will have an attachment with a PDF, so that person or people, if you have a distribution list, then can open the PDF and look at the fax. The second field is for outbound permissions. Again, you can put an email address, so you can say, hey, this person, you can fax out. Or if you own your company domain, you can put your company domain there so that any of your staff members can fax out, even if they don't have even if they're not a user on Dash itself. Right? They just have to have an email address for your company. Again, the two fields of the email, +1, area code and phone number, @ your account realm, and you simply attach a PDF or a TIFF file. All right, let's go to auto attendants, since we just brought that up. So auto attendants allow you to do a couple different things. The two primary things that they're used for is if you have multiple businesses going into the same account, and you want those businesses to have their own individual greetings. Right? They have their own numbers, their own greetings. And then the other thing would be to set up a submenu option. Now, submenuing is, say, for instance, you have a phone number come into your virtual receptionist, and then you want to say, for English, press 1. For Spanish, press 2. Right? So then you could set up two submenus for 1 and 2. When they press 1, right, they go to the English menu. You can have another greeting play, and then they have their menu options for English. When they press 2, again, probably your Spanish greeting plays, and then they have the menu options to get to your Spanish-speaking staff members. Right, but that's still off of the one attendant. All right, so creating a new attendant, you start at the top with Add a New Attendant. You give it a name and an extension number. And then you click on Create Attendant. Now, that extension number, your staff can actually use that to transfer calls to one of the other attendants, right? So, someone called into your dog walking business and they actually need to speak to your cleaning business. Your staff members can send them to that menu, basically by entering this, hit transfer, extension number, and then they get the main greeting for that other business. Now, once you've created a attendant, you can click on the name. And right here it says unavailable in main menu, meaning this is a standalone attendant. Whereas if I go down here to Niner Nation, right, this one is available in the main menu, which means this is a submenu option, right? So this will show up in any of the other attendants as a potential menu option under advanced call flows. All right, you can click on the numbers field. You can add some spare numbers. You can buy new numbers so they can have their own phone numbers. Again, you can click on the extension box here. You can add additional extensions or unassign them. And then if you click on the little wrench icon under settings here, you'll see I have an open hours, after hours, and holidays. These times match what we just set up under main number, right? So my open hours are the same, after hours is the same, and it follows the same holidays. Now you only have the option to send calls to the virtual receptionist for your auto attendance. And if you click on this, got menu options, again, 0 through 9 plus the default route. You've got your same greeting options, number of retries, etc. All right, devices. These are all the devices on the account. Green means the system detects that it's registered or connected. Red means it's unregistered, meaning we can't send a call to or from it. And black means you've disabled it. If you click Add Device here at the top, first up we got SIP phone, right? So this is that physical VoIP phone. You find your manufacturer, and then you look for your model number. Then you give it a name, so say Mary's phone, and then you enter in the MAC address of the phone. Now each phone has their own MAC address. Typically it's a sticker on the back of the phone. Oftentimes if you power up the phone, you go onto the menu under status. One of the options there is also the MAC address. And then you would click on create device, and then you assign it to one of your staff members. Now, as far as your Dash account is concerned, and your dashboard, there's nothing else you need to do. On the phone, you actually need to access that phone's web user interface, right, the web UI. Basically, you get the IP address, again, from that menu status section. Enter that IP address into the address bar of your web browser, log into the phone's UI, and then you need to enter in a URL into the auto provisioning section. Basically, you're telling the phone, hey, go here. Phone gets on the internet, goes to that address, it grabs this config file, it will reboot a couple times, and then it should show up as a green device here on your dashboard. Now, for the specific instructions, you want to go under our Dash support pages, and you're looking for the article Auto Provisioning Phones. It will be on the right side under VoIP phones. Now, if, say, for instance, you can't find your manufacturer or the specific model of your VoIP phone, then you're not going to be able to use this process, in which case you would need to go to soft phone, that third option here. Now, got a little warning message here about, hey, because of wireless technology, you may not actually be at the location where your E911 is set up for, so please be aware of that. Go ahead and click on close. And then now we are here for a third-party soft phone application or third-party VoIP phone. You give it a name. You use the SIP username here, and then you click on the SIP password box to get the SIP password. You copy and paste these two things plus the account realm, and you use that to program either that VoIP phone that didn't show up on that list or that, say, CounterPath-based soft phone application. And then you would assign it to a user and then click on Create Device. Now, we do have some guides for some VoIP phones and soft phone applications, third-party soft phone applications on our website. So you want to go to the Dash support pages to see if we have a manufacturer that, the same manufacturer that you're using, and hopefully you can, it's a close enough guide to get you set up. But then once you have that programmed, it should show up as a green device under soft phone. All right, cell phone and landline, these are basically the same. You give it a name, and then you enter the phone number for that device. Now, you do need the plus sign, the number 1, area code, and then phone number, and then you assign it to a person. You click on Create Device. Now, this is the default settings for a cell phone or landline. So when Dash offers a call to your cell phone or your landline, Right? Your phone will ring. When you pick up, you will hear, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1." When you're pressing 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take this call. And then it will connect you. For our vConsole customers, if this is your first time going through the training, this is like having to press pound to accept the call on vConsole, except you only have to do it on cell phone and landlines. Now, if you don't want to do that, or for instance, you actually set this up to go to an automated answering service, then what you would do, put a check mark here in front of allow use of cell phone voicemail. So now when we send a call to your cell phone, you can just pick up. We treat it like a connected call at that point. You don't have to press 1. Call is connected. Likewise, that means if your cell phone voicemail picks up, we treat that like a connected call. That inbound call ends up on your personal cell phone's voicemail box. Now, if you're setting it to an automated answering service, you don't have to worry about it going to voicemail box necessarily because, right, you put a check mark there, your automated answering service picks up, we connect the call, they then handle that call from that point on. Other thing here is keep a regional caller ID. So when a call, let's say customer Mary is calling you on your cell phone, you look at it, you don't recognize that phone number. You're like, well, I'm not going to answer the call. Go to voicemail. If you uncheck this, then instead of seeing customer Mary's phone number on your cell phone, you see your main number show up on your cell phone. That's the caller ID, letting you know, oh, this is a business call. Right now, let me close out of this. What I mean by the main number, if we go back to that dashboard page, caller ID, whatever number you have selected here, that's the phone number that will show up when you uncheck keep original caller ID. And in fact, that becomes a default number for a couple other things as well. All right. Now, if you want to make use of the VirtualPBX soft phone, you can also click here on soft phone. Same little warning message. Now, again, it starts you off on the third-party soft phone application, but underneath where the account realm, you have it says it's grayed out. It's use third-party application. If you click on that, it will flip it to say use VirtualPBX application. So you give it a name, you assign it to one of your users, you click on create device. When you do that, that user gets an email with their login information to make use with the VirtualPBX soft phone app. Now, if they're using that on an Android or iPhone, they can just go to the related app store, download the device, and then use those credentials to log in. If you want them to be able to use it on the desktop versions, right, so Mac OS or Windows, you need to make sure you order that through the web store, so that way they get the license key. And then you'll have download links to download. Next up, we've got the web phone. Again, you've got that wireless VoIP message. But then you give it a name, you assign it to an owner, you click on create device. When you do that, up here, after the next time that person logs in to their dashboard, they'll have a link right here for the web phone. They can also just go to webphone.virtualpbx.net. The web phone will ask you to log in. It uses the same login information that you have for Dash, right? So same email address, same password, same account name. And you just need to use Chrome or Firefox, and then you can make and receive calls right from your computer. Yeah, basically a desktop or a laptop computer. I have been able to get it to work on Chrome on my Samsung Android phone. I haven't yet tested on any tablets. I know some customers have had issues with iOS devices with Chrome or Firefox, so that's not recommended for them. All right, the greetings manager shows all the greetings on your account. Right, you get their name. The source, TTS, is text-to-speech. Upload, I uploaded the file. And recording means I recorded it over the phone. You have a download link here, which means you can download the file so you can listen to it to make sure it's still relevant to your business or if it's still useful. And then the little wrench icon here, you can edit, so you can change the name to make it something that's more identifiable for you, or you can get rid of it if you're not going to use it any longer. Also up here, you got the option to add, so you can upload a .wav, .mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte file size, right? So I could upload that file, for instance. Oops, dropped a character. Oh, that's okay. Click on create. Huh, and I can't scroll down to see where it went. That's weird. I'll have to test that some more. All right, groups, shorthand for ring groups. You click add group up here, you give it a name, you give it an extension number, and then you click and drag the staff members you want to be in this group. And then you would click on create group. Once you've created a group, you can click on the name. You can change the name. You have the group call attempts. Basically, how many times can an inbound caller ring everybody in the group? Those little arrows here to the far right, so you can get up or down to increase or decrease the number of attempts. If you click on the members box, you'll see all the members of the group. Up here, that's the total ring time of the group, so 120 seconds, which is the default for a newly created group. Now, if I click distribute, it will equalize the time. So basically it goes in sequence among my staff members. If I don't like this order, I can click and drag the order around, and then I can click distribute again. Right, now, these are sliders, so I could also do a ring method like this. Oops. I think Bob wants to move, but let's do that. Right, so now it's ringing everybody for the entire time until someone picks up. I could decide, oh, I don't really like that after all. I can go back to distribute if I want to. You can add additional people from here, and then I can click distribute again. And I can also remove a staff member if I want to. The extension box, right? Groups can have multiple extensions. And this is typically so your staff members can transfer calls to the group. Groups can have phone numbers, right? So add from spare by new number. And then we've got group features. So ringback is essentially a hold music for while your inbound caller is waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. Then you upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Click the little up arrow, and then you click on Save Changes. At next action, if you enable this, basically you're saying, hey, if none of my staff is able to answer the call, send the call to, in this case, I'm sending it to a voicemail box, but right, I can send it back to the main menu. I can send it to any of my queues, which I think is new. I can send it to a specific device. I can send it to a user, and I can also send it to another group, and then any voicemail box. Allow call forward. If I enable this, I'm allowing the users, the members of the group, to use call forwarding, right? So they're not going to be at their normal desk phone, but they still want to take these calls. And then caller ID prepend. Again, this is for my VoIP phone users. You can add each of their additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their phone's display. Again, so they know, or they have an idea about what the call is about. This is especially useful for staff members that are in multiple groups or queues. numbers, shows the numbers on the account and where they're going. And then you have your spare numbers. If you don't want a spare number any longer, if you click on the little box in front of it, then you have the option here to delete it. And I hit continue. And now the number is removed from my account. Right? I can buy numbers here, local and toll free, and that way I can, assign them later as I need to. Port starts the port process. You give it a name, you select US, local, or toll free, and continue, basically follow the on-screen instructions. The main things we need in a port request are a completed and signed letter of agency, or LOA. Within the port process, you can download a blank one as well as upload the completed one. You can also find a blank LOA on the Dash support pages. It's under administration and forms on the bottom right. On the LOA, it asks for company information, right? So company name and address. That should match what your current carrier has on file for you. It does ask for a signature. It can be a digital signature, right? You don't actually have to print it out and physically sign it. But the person who's signing for it should also be on file with your current carrier. And that we submit that LOA to the other carrier so they verify the information. The port process, you also upload a copy of your bill within the last 30 days. And that's something we also submit to the current carrier. Basically proof of, hey, this is the person who owns this number. Now, if for some reason the submission doesn't go through, right? So when you go through the port process, you click submit, you upload the documents. You should get a relatively quickly an immediate email saying, hey, you have successfully submitted your documents. By the next business day, you should get a second email from our porting team saying, yes, we received your documents, and here's what to expect of the port process. If you don't get both of those emails, you definitely want to contact our porting team to make sure that we got them or not. But let's say you got an error when you tried to hit submit, right? It says you get an error message or you couldn't upload the files for whatever reason. You can always just email porting@virtualpbx.com, include the completed LOA and the copy of the bill, and we'll still port your number, right? We can handle it via email. It doesn't have to go through this port process. Porting a local number can take anywhere from a few days to several weeks. Toll-free numbers typically take around 3 to 5 business days, assuming, and in both cases, that's assuming all the information is correct, right? Ultimately, we have to wait for the other carrier to release the number to us, so we don't get to control when the number comes to us. That's purely on your other carrier. All right, users. Shows all your users on the account. Little gray person icon is your standard user. Person in a blue suit is an admin. If you click on add user, you enter their name. Each email address used for login is unique, right? So each person has their own unique email address to log in with. You create a password and then you assign an extension number to them. Now, I started this account with extension 1000. So it says the next one in that series is 1029. I can change this, right? I can make it 5210. Purely up to me. Now, we do recommend that you create a voicemail box for the user. That voicemail box is intrinsically tied to that user. Up to you if you want to include them in the company directory or the user directory. Send emails to an alternate address. So if you put an email address here, this will supersede the address used for login, right? So any password recovery would go to here, voicemails would go here, soft phone credentials would go here. And then the other one that's important in my opinion, send credentials to the user, right? So that way they get an email with their login and their password. And then you click on create user if you just need to add one person. If you need to add multiple, create user and add another. Once you've created a user, you can click on their name. You can change their name. You can change their credentials. right? Change their email address or their password. Now, for instance, let's say Bob and I, different wavelengths. He always forgets the passwords I create for him. I can click this little link here, so he gets the password reset email, and then he creates his own password. Obviously, he could just click on forget password and create his own password that way as well. Voicemail box PIN number. Now, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to create a PIN number for them. They can simply pick up their VoIP phone and hit *98. That will log them into their voicemail box automatically, and the system will ask them to create a PIN number as well as record their greeting. For your cell phone and landline users, you would need to input a PIN number for them so they could check their voicemails over the phone. Here's that option to send to an alternate address as well as the company directory. Over here on the right, this is user. It's a pull down, so you can change a user to an admin or an admin to a user. Next up, we've got the time zone. All right, so you have staff in different parts of the world. This is the display language, English, French, German, or Russian. So this is basically what shows up on your dash pages here. Ringing timeout. This is how much time the system will send a call to a user. The default for a new user is 20 seconds. The reason you would increase it to say 45 or more would be because this person uses cell phones. Right. So in terms of how a PBX system deals with that, right? So let's say you've got call comes in and you're going to send it to a landline. Well, basically call comes in, we send it to that landline provider. We know exactly where that phone is. Boom, sends the call to that device. Right. Call comes in. Instead, we have to send it to a cell phone provider. We let the cell phone, we're sending the call to the cell phone provider. That, oh yeah, we need to find them first. Hold on a second. Right, pings the cell phone towers to find you, then we send the call to you. It's that delay is why it takes more time to route a call to a cell phone than it does to, say, a landline or a VoIP phone. Users can have extensions and they can have multiple extensions. They can also have their own phone numbers, and you can add from spare or buy a new local or toll-free number. You can click on devices. You can add new devices to a user, right? Same options as here. I personally think it's easier to add the web phone and the VirtualPBX soft phone directly on the user page, but same process either way. And then we have the user features. Right, caller ID number. This only works with a person who has their own phone number. Basically, when you turn it on, you're saying when they make outbound calls, this is the caller ID that shows up. Call forwarding. You have off, on, and failover mode. Off means obviously you're not using it. On is saying, hey, I'm not going to be at my desk phone. Send calls to this phone number. And then you click on Save Changes. Now, call forwarding is something your users can set up themselves. You don't have to set it up for them. They can do it through the user portal, is the easier way to do it. You can also do it via feature codes from a VoIP phone. Speaking of VoIP phones, failover mode. Failover mode is when the system detects that your VoIP phone went offline, right? Becomes unregistered or red on the system, and a call happens to come into your user at that time, the system will automatically send it to your forwarding device. Right, so then you can answer the call and then go back in and say, why did my VoIP phone stop working? Hot desking is a VoIP feature. You give the staff members a VoIP phone or hot desk ID. Up to you if you want to have a PIN number. You would use this in instances where your staff is in a shared office environment where they may be switching desks from day to day. Right, it's Tuesday. I'm sitting at desk 7. At the beginning of my shift, I grab the VoIP phone. I hit *11. That turns on hot desking for that phone. It asks me for the hot desk ID, and then tells me, okay, your calls will be forwarded to this device. So then I go about my business day, sitting at desk 7, and whenever a call comes to my user, it rings at that phone I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. The next time I come into the office, We'll say that's next week because of the holiday, right? And desk number 5 is open instead of desk 7. I'm like, I like desk 5. It's got better lighting. I sit down, pick up the handset on the phone, hit star 11 again, enter the hot desk ID, and now calls will come to me at that desk. Voicemail box, again, on because I created it with the user. Fax box. So your users can have their own fax boxes if you want them to. You can send it to a new number, by new number, add a spare number, or you can assign an extension. Now, if you assign an extension, you have to create a new extension that's not in use. Right, so you can search to make sure you're not repeating, and then you just click on select extension. The downside of this is you're relying on the person who's faxing to you to call your main number, right, listen to the greeting, enter the fax extension number, and then hit send fax. Some fax machines, that's not a big deal. Other fax machines, that's a problem. And electronic fax services, I don't know. Some probably can do it, others cannot. That's why for most people, I just recommend use a phone number. It's that way you have universal access. Conference bridge, again, I've assigned a conference number so I can enable this feature. That lets me know the phone number, the PIN number, or the conference room number matches my extension number. And then as an admin, I need to create a PIN number for this, and then I click on Save Changes. Now, my staff member, they can adjust their PIN numbers on the user portal. All right, follow me. Actually, let's go up here to Denard for follow me. So follow me is for people with multiple devices. You click on enable, and now you see, okay, now you decide which devices you're actually going to send calls to. You uncheck the ones you want to use. Up here's the total ring time. And again, I can click distribute, right? So this is just like ring groups, where you can adjust the times, you can adjust the sliders, etc. Music on hold. Your staff members, you can have them have their individual on hold music. You can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. This would supersede the setting under dashboard. Customized call recording. So when you first enable it, it actually looks like this. So, and basically saying, which calls do you want to record? Right, so inbound internal means coworker Bob called, right? Inbound external means the customer called. Outbound internal means I called coworker Bob back, and then outbound external means I called a customer. And then you click on Save Changes. And then Do Not Disturb means don't disturb, calls go right to voicemail. Voicemail boxes. Shows all the voicemails on the account, right? If they're user voicemail boxes, their name will show up here. You can create your own voicemail box by clicking Add Voicemail Box. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then you would click on Create Voicemail Box. Now you would do that in for your ring groups or for your ACD queues instead of using someone's own voicemail box for that. Once you've created a voicemail box, you can click on the little wrench icon. You can obviously change the name, and etc. Under Advanced, you want to go to Greeting Media. So you can upload a media file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, etc. You can also call into a voicemail box, right? So from a VoIP phone, hit *97, then enter in the voicemail box number and the PIN, and then you get to recording over the phone under Personal Options. All voicemail boxes have a temporary file option as well, right? So this would be, for instance, the vacation or holiday voicemail greeting, right? I'm going to be out of the office for the holidays, blah, blah, blah. So when you select a file in temporary, it supersedes the media file. And then at the end of that holiday, for instance, you can put this back to none, and then the media file would play instead. Recipients, you would want to create recipients or add recipients to any voicemail box you create, so that way someone knows that a voicemail came in. For your users, right, they are already their own recipient, right? That email address used for login, that's the email address that the system will automatically send to. You can add additional recipients for those voicemail boxes if necessary. And then options. So once you have a voicemail greeting and recipient set up on a voicemail box, you can check the box here for already set up. And then the main things that come up are these two here at the bottom. Now, so by default, when a user, or actually any voicemail box, right, gets a voicemail, it sends off to the recipient, right? It sends an email, and in that email is an attachment, right? Because this is default on. So the attachment's a WAV or .mp3 file, so the recipients can listen to the file. And then the system will delete that voicemail from the system because it's already sent you a notification, because each voicemail box can only hold up to 100 messages, right? Once it gets to 100, then the next person who tries to call in gets the voicemail box is full. Please try again later. So once you have delete after notification checked, then the voicemail box can't get full going forward. Now, if, for instance, you have staff members who prefer to listen in over the phone, or they like going through the website, or you just don't want them having to deal with it via email, right? You would want to uncheck both, right? So especially if you want them to check over the phone or via the website, you definitely want to make sure that delete after notification is disabled. If you can still have that attach the voicemails to the email and leave delete after notification unchecked if you want. Right? Just gives you multiple ways to check voicemail. You also have the option here, this is new, transcribe messages. So the system listens to your voicemail, puts it in text for you. And then any changes, click on Save Changes. Advanced routing, this is typically for our customers who were on vConsole who migrated to Dash. And we've got Direct Inward System Access, or DISA. This allows a cell phone or landline user to call into your main number, enter in an extension and a PIN number, and then make an outbound call. And when they make that outbound call through your system, the default phone, there's a caller ID that shows up isn't their cell phone number, but your main number, right? So if we go back to dashboard, right, this number, that's the phone number that would show up on the outbound caller ID if we make use of DISA. So let us get this re-enabled here. Right, so first you enable it, then you click Edit Settings. I always suggest add an extension. So you can create an extension number, you can update the PIN number, and then you would click on Save Changes. So staff member calls in to your main number. At the main greeting, they enter in this extension number. They'll be prompted to enter in the PIN number. When they do that, then they'll hear dial tone again. They hit, and then they enter the phone number, area code and phone number that they're reaching out to. The system will call them out, and then the outbound caller ID is, again, that main number. Now, for new signups, this feature is not enabled by default because this is a potential fraud vector. Right? If someone's able to figure out the extension number and PIN number, they can make outbound calls on your account, and you may not realize it right away. Next up, we've got the call logs. This shows your call activity on the account. right? Green arrow to the right, that means the call came into the system. And you click on it here, and you can see that it reached out to these phone numbers for these users, right? The yellow arrow to the left, that's an outbound call. If you click on the little fire hydrant icon here, this will create an email. It will have the technical details of the call. In the body of that email, I recommend typing in what you experienced or didn't experience, as the case may be, so that way our support, because the email will go to our support team, but giving them details about what happened will help them further troubleshoot the issue, right? So you can say, hey, this call said it came in, but my phone number rang, right? That at least gives us an idea of what happened, and we can see what was going on. All right, feature codes. I've already mentioned a couple of these. These are just dial pad shortcuts on your phones, or typically on your VoIP phones, that you can use to make use of features, right? Like I've mentioned, hot desking. Here's the call forwarding ones. A couple miscellaneous ones. Now the check voicemail, the *97, that lets you choose which voicemail box you want to go to. You can actually do that from a cell phone or landline when you call into the main number. And then also this one right here is new, the directed extension pickup. Essentially, let's say Bob and I are in the office together, and he steps away, but he says, hey, my phone rings, can you pick it up? I got a big call coming, right? I'm doing my work, his phone rings. I could get up and pick up his phone directly, or from my VoIP phone, I can hit *87 and I pick up his call. Oh, sorry, *87 and then his extension, and then I'm talking to whoever's calling into him. I can then transfer it back to him. All right, hamburger menu, or the menu icon. So we've been on the dashboard this whole time. So next we'll go over to ACD queues. ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution. It's a call center feature. Sorry about that. Now, ACD queues are not, or an add-on feature, or so there's two types of queues. There's standard queues, which is what we're looking at here. These run $15 or $30 per month per queue. There's also ACD Queues Pro, which start at $99 per month per queue. It's going to depend on your plan. If you're interested in these, you're definitely going to want to talk to our account services team. You can add a new queue. I'm just going to click on the gear icon here of an existing queue. Queue name, basically you give it a name. Now a queue can have either an extension number or a phone number, right? Basically queues are, I guess, a variant of ring groups. Basically they give you more routing options, but they have some limitations. So on a ring group, right, you can take calls from a cell phone or a landline, for example, as well as a VoIP device. In a queue, you can only take calls on a VoIP device. Currently constructed, obviously you can only have a phone number or an extension, where a group can have both. Now both queues and groups can show up as a menu option under your auto attendants or virtual receptionist. Over here in configuration, the queue routing strategy, there's 5 to choose from. This one's selected on most idle. What that means is calls come in, the next call that comes in goes to the person who's been waiting for the call the longest among your staff members. Right, now you've got round robin, which equalizes out over time. You have ring all, basically everyone's phones ring, right, blast ringing. You've got least offered, so least amount of offered calls. So say Bob has been offered 20 calls, Mary's been offered 5. Next call that comes in goes to Mary because she's had the least amount of offered calls. Related to that is least calls. This is the least amount of connected calls. So in that 20 and 5 scenario, right, Bob's had 20 calls. Let's say he's only spoken to 2 people, right? So he's connected with 2 of those 20. Mary's been offered 5 calls, but she's spoken to all 5. Under least calls, the next call that comes in goes to Bob because he's only spoken to 2 people. Hold treatment, you've got, again, you can upload a .wave.mp3 file. Now on ACDQs Pro, you have more options under hold treatment, right? You can add multiple files to listen to. You can include things like the person's position waiting in line, right, in terms of their queue, as well as their expected wait time. You also, under ACDQs Pro, you have the option to set up a way for a customer or the caller to get out of the queue, meaning you can set up pressing 0 and then send 0 to a voicemail box, for example. All right, queue timeout. This is how much time an inbound caller can wait on hold. Queue call limit. You can limit the number of callers in the queue. When you have 0, there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. This means if you have no staff members logged in, you can treat any inbound caller as if they've already hit this 30-second 100 limit. Escalation queue. You can send callers to a second queue, i.e. all your staff members in this queue are busy, so the system will then send the caller up to a second queue. And then the escalation call flow after timeout is after that 3,600 seconds timer runs out, I'm sending the callers to the main voicemail box. All right, agent behavior. Agent recovery timer, this is how much time an agent has after they've completed a call before the system offers them another call from the queue. Typically, I see 15 to 30 second range. 300 is a little weird. That's 5 minutes, so thereabouts. Force away on rejected or missed. If this is enabled, if a staff member misses a call, the system will put them in away mode and keep them there until they mark themselves available again. And then lastly, we have the agent connect timeout. That's 20 seconds by default, which is typically plenty of time because right now queues can only accept calls with a VoIP device. All right, over here, this is the little members icon. And then you would click on Manage Members. So the list on the right, these are all the people who can be in my queue. They're not in all of my queues, right? I can choose who's in which queue. But if I need to add additional people to be in the queues, right, I would click on their name and then click on Add as a member. And then you see that person is now over here on the right. Now, if we go back to the queues, right, I can add agents to a queue. And then once I've added agents, I click on Add Members. I can make one of these agents a manager. Now, for your staff members, again, they would click up here and get to ACD queues, and they would click on Begin Session, and that logs them into the queue. Notice I'm red, I'm away right now. Up here is where I would change that. I can mark myself as ready. So now I turn green, so I'm ready to accept a call that comes into this queue. Right, I can see my total calls, my missed, etc. Up here. This little phone icon here, this allows me to choose which VoIP device to, or, well, should be a VoIP device, to accept calls on. or I click on select all, right? If I go to lunch, I could just mark myself away. And then end of my day, I end my session. Now, Q's Pro, they also have a performance icon, so you can compare two agents to or actually multiple agents to each other, as well as like you can see activity logs for your staff members. All right, next up we got blacklists. If you click edit blacklist, you can click add to create a new list, or you can choose an existing one. You give it a name, and then you have the option to block anonymous. So blacklist, you're basically telling the system, say, hey, if this phone number calls, don't let them connect. Right? So if we don't get valid caller ID, right, or it comes up as anonymous, you can say, click this on. Now those callers can't connect to my system. Down here, you put +1 area code and phone number for any phone number you don't want reaching your system. You would then click save. And then you go back to settings, and then you make sure that list is over here on the right under selected. You would click update. And so now any phone number on these two lists, when they try to contact any of my phone numbers, they get a busy tone. So they're not wasting my time or my staff members' time, etc. Admins can also get to any fax box on the account. Right, so you can see the status of inbound and outbound faxes, as well as the email to fax logs. You see here, I got a thumbs down on this one fax. If I click on the little eyeball icon, it tells me, oh, this person isn't actually on the account. So that's why this fax failed. Now, that could be simply because they use their personal email address versus their work email address. Monitor. This basically shows you the status of your staff members. Green means they're waiting for a call. Red, they're marked away. Blue, they're on an inbound call. Yellow, they're on external call. Gold means they're on wrap-up time from a queue call. Number manager should just take you to your spare numbers. The recordings manager, that takes you to your call recording storage hosted by AWS. Recordings.virtualpbx.com uses your Dash login, where you can then listen to your files, download them, or delete them. Reports is this is advanced reporting. This is currently in beta. Basically gives you more details on the call logs, and you can create your own reports. If this is something you're interested in, you'd want to talk to our account services team. They can, because that might require a change in plan. Voicemails. As an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account. You can see, oh, there's a new message, the date, who it came from, and the caller ID, the phone number, the playback, or how much time you can play it back, download it, etc. You click on the box here, then you can mark as new, mark as deleted, or just delete it. You also have the option to move it to a different voicemail box, right? So you listen to it like, oh, this wasn't supposed to go here. This should have been for Mary. Webhooks. This basically lets you use APIs to link Dash to other software. If you're interested in this, you actually want to talk to our sales team. They have some additional qualifying information they would need and some samples in terms of what we can do. If you go to developer.virtualpbx.com, you can also see samples of the things we have done with APIs to link with Dash. And then the user portal. Every person on your account has their own user portal. You can see here, again, I got this email, the date and the time, who it came from, where it went to. I can play it back. I can download it. And then I can mark it as new, mark it as listened or deleted. Up here, I've got the call history, so I can see calls that have come in or gone out from my user faxes. You can see my fax history. The contact list, this is everyone or everything on your Dash account, right? So extension owners, groups, queues, etc. This is not something your staff members can edit themselves, right? So like your salespeople would not be able to add their client list to this. This is only within their Dash account. Conference. So over here on the right, and you see the conference number. They can, this is where your staff members can update their conference PIN numbers. They also have the option here to have people, when they come in, are muted or deafened, as well as play entry and exit tones. Over here, you can invite other Dash users to your conference. You can lock a conference. You can mute everybody. You can unmute everybody. You can end the call. When you're actually in a conference on an individual participant, you can mute a specific person as well as kick a specific person if you need to. And then settings and devices. This is where your staff members can set up their own call forwarding. It is put at the device. The main thing about call forwarding, which I don't think I mentioned earlier, is that this device that they forward to should not already be a device on their user, right? Because if you already have it as a device, then there's no need to call forward to it. This is like your backup device, essentially. And then you've got these options. I'll also let you know your status of your existing devices. And that is everything. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. I'm going to wait a couple minutes to see if anyone has any questions via chat. I haven't actually seen any pop up, but I will wait to see if any do show up. All right, I'm not seeing any questions coming through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for your time today. I hope you have a happy holiday season, and I will be back next Tuesday. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.